If you've been on set for any length of time, I'm sure you have experienced needing to relight a scene at 9 p.m. for a production that was supposed to wrap before dinner. Morale is low, you're not getting the best from your talent, the crew isn't being as efficient as they can, and you do this knowing you have to show up on set the next morning. It's exhausting. And a lot of that comes down to a lack of preparation, not knowing how long something takes. The purpose of this video is to alleviate that stress and pain of trying to cram things at the end and get an inferior product and make sure that you are both on time and on budget with your productions moving forward. If you want to follow along with creating this shooting schedule based on the template that I've made, there's the link in the description below. It will open this page up and you're not going to be able to really do anything with it because it's going to be locked. In order to be able to edit this for what you want to do, what we're going to do is we're going to go to File and then click Make a Copy. By making a copy, you're then going to copy it into your own Google Drive. You'll be able to use it, edit it, tweak it, do whatever, okay? But as you open it, it's going to open with this blank shot list. Before we touch anything on the shot list itself, the first thing we want to do is to go over to Data Options. As we look at these columns, the first three are going to be from the scene headers in our script. You'll see first we have the interior exterior column. Generally, interior or exterior just lets us know if we're inside or outside. Sometimes you might start inside, work your way out. Sometimes you might start outside, work your way in. You have those options here, but generally either interior or exterior works just fine. Next to that is the location column. This is blank. That's because this is going to be dependent on the locations in your script. And here you would just write them in. So if we're in a haunted mansion, I write that in there. If we're in another scene in Edmund's bedroom, I write that in there. And I can write this all into this column and it makes it so much easier to work on my shot list moving forward in the next couple of steps. But you would write that in yourself. Third column is time of day. And you can see here day, night, dawn, dusk, morning, afternoon, evening, late night. 9 times out of 10, day and night are what we use in scripts. Unless there is a very, very specific reason to notate what specific part of the day or the night it is. Generally, day or night's fine, but you have these other options should you want them. Now, the next couple columns get into what we would call technical achievement. This is to describe how the shot is framed, composed, all of that, so that way we know how to get the shot that we have envisioned in our head, starting with our shot size. Shot size starts from extreme close-up. You also see I put all of these little notes here next to them so you can, if you're confused on what the acronym is, it'll explain it for you. And we go all the way to extreme long shot or an extreme wide shot here and everything in between with a 2 or 3 shot and group shot underneath that. That just lets us know how we're sizing up those shots. The next column is our lens column. Now, this currently is just set to wide lens, normal lens, long lens, and then I put 2 specialties of a macro lens and a fisheye lens here. But this is another column that you could quite easily go through and adjust for yourself. If you know the lens set that you're using, if you know the focal lengths that you're going to be applying, you could just write over these with the specific focal lengths of the lenses you're going to be using, which again is going to help with your efficiency and changeover on sets. But for those of you who don't necessarily know exactly what focal lengths you're going to be using for which shots, to keep it simple and easy, wide, normal, long gives you a pretty good idea for the lens type that you want and the compression that you'll get with that. Angle, right? This is our camera to subject relationship. Generally, we start with eye level. This is where the camera and the subject are on the same plane. When we go to high angle, this is then where the camera kicks up and looks down at our subject. Low angle is where we're down looking up at our subject. Overhead or bird's eye is straight down looking down onto our subject. Dutch angle is where we take the horizon line and skew it onto its lateral or yaw axis over the shoulder and point of view, okay, depending on what we're trying to create. Again, covers most angles. If there's a specific one that you want, feel free to add it in. Same with movement. This covers most general movements, but if for whatever reason I didn't put enough of them in there, you can feel free to add more should you want. And then the basic equipment that we would use to achieve those movements is in this next column. The last column, like the location column, is for you to fill in. These are our subjects or our characters within our movie. So you would write these in with the names of the people as they appear in your script. Once we have our data options set up in a way that is both reflective of our script and the equipment we're using to film, that's then when we can go back to our shot list here. And you'll see in our shot list, there are a lot of columns that are reflective of our data options. And so if I go to location and I click this little pull down, I now have the options that I wrote in my data options sheet here. So haunted mansion is great, time of day, it's daytime, and then we get into those particulars. So like it's a long shot, we're gonna use a wide angle lens, we're going to be low angle looking up at the house, and this is going to be a push in, and we're going to do that on a dolly. So this is the opening shot of Lightly Ghosted, set up in a way that we understand technically how we're going to pull that off. Description of action. What we write in here is what is currently happening in the frame. This is not what comes before. This is not what happens after. This is not necessarily even what happens off screen unless there is an actual reaction on screen. What I want to know here is what is the camera looking at? I know how the camera is moving. I know how the camera is set up. I understand the technical way that we're achieving this shot, but what is it that we're shooting? We put that there, followed by, of course, whatever subjects we have in the shot. Now, if we come over to these first three columns, this first column, ironically enough, is going to be the last one that we fill in. What we want to start with are these two columns, which is our scene and shot number. This is going to help your second AC when they're running the slate, so that way we can identify exactly what shot we're on. This is going to help you in production make sure you get all of the shots that you want, and it is going to be the thing that marries your storyboard to your shot list. This is the identifier to know what it is that we're shooting. And as you would imagine, the scene, as indicated on your scene header, is by number. So our first scene is scene 1. As you would imagine, our first shot is also shot 1. But our scene could continue with our shots then increasing like this. If, by the way, your project has more than 31 shots in it, the easiest thing to do is to come over here like I just did, highlight the entire row here, and this little blue dot down here in the bottom, I can click and I can drag this down, and you'll see here, it's just gonna continue to make more rows for you. So this can continuously expand beyond what's just on the template fairly easily and still be plugged into all of that same data. When it comes to shoot order, we're not doing it by the chronology of the movie. The first shot of a production is not the first shot that we shoot. The last shot of the production is not the last shot in the movie. It is super jumbled up, and that is entirely based on efficiency to make sure that we are getting the most out of our production time. And here's how we determine that. First is by location. What we want to do is we want to make sure that if we are in Edmund's bedroom, we are filming everything for the movie in that room that we can. Because if we go in there and spend the time to set it up and shoot and then tear it down and leave, we don't then want to turn right back around and have to go back and set up and shoot and then tear down and leave again, because that's a lot of time to set up and tear down and move that we can save by putting all of that stuff together. So the first thing we would do is the locations would determine how we're setting up our shoots. The next is, of course, this next column, which is our time of day. If we're in Edmund's bedroom and half of the shoot is during the day and half of the shoot is at night, we want to make sure that we organize all of the day shots in Edmund's bedroom to be together and all of the night shots in Edmund's bedroom to be together. And that way, we're not trying to jump back and forth and change lighting and do all of that. We can really hone in on, we have this lighting setup, which is great. We're now moving to this lighting setup. We'll change over. We're here. We're now shooting this. So time of day is a huge indicator. Within time of day, we then have actual lighting setup. We light spaces and not faces. We want to make sure that we are illuminating and lighting the entire environment the way that we want, and then making small changes along the way as needed. That said, we don't always have the luxury of a 360-degree shooting freedom. Sometimes we have to set up a room to where we're shooting in this half, and behind us we're hiding all of the things that make it look the way that we want. And then we need to go shoot the other half of the room, which requires us to take everything that we've set up, flip it to the other side, remove it, so that way we can then shoot that side of the room. So it goes by location, by time of day, and then by lighting setup. That again eliminates as much downtime as we possibly can. Going even further, we then go to lensing. If we've got a ton of shots that are on a wide lens, and then we have some shots that are on a normal lens, and we only have 2 shots that are on a long lens, I don't want to have to be changing out lenses every single shot that we do. I kind of want to pair those as best I can to, again, eliminate as much turnover as I possibly can, so we can really just get in, set up, shoot everything we need to with that configuration before we break, set, and move. In Lightly Ghosted, we have a lot of shots that are on sticks or a tripod, and then a lot of shots that are on a dolly. And we don't want to really have to go back and forth of, let's set up the dolly, shoot on the dolly, set up the tripod, shoot on the tripod, and go back and forth. So in addition to lenses, we also then want to think about the equipment that we're using and the type of movements that we're creating. So then that way, hey, if I'm on a wide lens and I'm on this dolly and I've got 4 shots here, let me get all of those shots in that setup before I then strike it and set up a tripod to then do that. All of those decisions are completely based on efficiency. Once I have written in my shooting order based on efficiency, I then can sort this entire document by that shoot order. And the way that we do that is we select the entire column, we go over to Data, Sort Sheet by column A to Z. This is going to be the first number to the last number. And then it will go through and it will sort all of your rows into the order of our shoot order, which is going to be entirely different than our scene and shot number, but we're not going to lose any information. We're simply going to reorder it so I know the order in which I'm shooting. That's then when we go to our shooting schedule. This is a shoot schedule. There are things on here that look familiar because they're from our shot list, and there are things that look a little different. If we look at these columns here, this is identical to our shot list, and the reason I did that is so you can copy and paste the data from your shot list into your shooting schedule. So we can go over to our shot list, assuming that we have built our shoot order the way that we want. I can select the number of shots that I want. I hit Command-C on a Mac, Control-C on a PC in order to copy those, bring that over here, start with this first one, paste that in, and all of the data from our shot list is seamlessly put into our shooting schedule, okay? So that's how that works. But what's different in this is the amount of time. If we look at the top here, it says production shooting schedule day number. This is just built for one day. If we wanted to have multiple days of shooting, we can just duplicate this sheet, and this sheet then would get renamed into, you know, this would be day 2 of shooting schedule, and I'd label this as day 1 of shooting schedule. So then I would know for the number of days, which day's shooting schedule I'm looking at, like this. But because this is template just built for one, we start here. What's really cool about this document is this time. So a call time, for those of you that don't know, that's not the time people are supposed to show up. That's the time that people are supposed to be ready to work. So whatever time people need to show up to get their coffee, shake their hands, do their things, whatever light prep stuff they want to do, that's by department and by individual. But crew call or production call is the time that all of the departments or all of the people are ready to begin their jobs. This is 7 a.m. I can just write this in. I can change this to whatever I want, all of that. And this document is automatically going to adjust depending on what time you put in here. Once everybody shows up, we're all ready to work. We're ready to go. We then have the amount of time it's going to take to set up for location 1. Again, our shoot order is built for efficiency, so we're going to do everything that we can in this space, in this setup. So let's just say that our first setup is going to take 1.5 hours. So I put in 1.5 hours there, and what you'll notice is call time is here, 1.5 hours is here, and now it's changed the principal photography time here based on that. So I'll know, even at the top of the day, are we running on time? This entire row is for this entire shot. And while this section here is the same as what we would have on our shot list, you'll see over here we have 3 columns of time. And this is all built on minutes. We have setup, we have shoot, and we have strike. Just because we have the location set up doesn't mean our work is done. We do have to make minor modifications to the lighting or to the camera or to the rigging or whatever to get a particular shot. That is our setup time for that shot. Then we have the amount of time it's going to take to shoot. This is not just one take, this is the number of takes that it will matter in order to get the thing that you want. Generally, try to keep it less than 3. Unless you're working with professional talent, you're not going to find something in the 17th take that they didn't give you in the first 2 or 3. And then we have strike. How long is it going to take to break that shot down to get ready for the next one? And we build this up in minutes. So we've had 1.5 hours for setup for location 1, which means that we're probably pretty close. So I'm going to say it's going to take us 5 minutes to find the exact shot for number 1. Let's say that it's a pretty simple setup. We can do it in 2 or 3 takes. Let's say that I'm going to give myself 7 minutes for that shot. And then of course to strike, super simple, because of course all we're doing is we're going straight into the next shot, which is the same camera setup, same rigging, all of that. What you'll notice is now over here where it says shot wrap, it is a different time than our start time. And what this is this is just doing the math for you of how many minutes is it going to take for this shot, and that's then when this shot wraps and when this shot starts. So as you're going through and planning out how long it's going to take for everything by adjusting this minutes and adjusting these hours or minutes for setup, all of this table is going to automatically adjust and update for your time. Like with the other, if we want to add more shots into this, right, we can select a row here and then we can insert more rows below, right, like this, right? We can also duplicate rows. We can do all of that kind of thing. So depending on how much time we have in each location, we can build that up. And all of this is constantly going to be changing as I adjust these different time metrics. But this whole thing adjusts. So if we have 1 hour for launch, and it's going to take again another 90 minutes or 1.5 hours for the setup for location 3, we know that then camera wrap is going to happen at 12:14, according to this, because nothing else is filled in. Let's say that it's going to take us a solid 2 hours to tear down. I know that my wheels up are at 2:14. Based on this limited number. But this whole thing is designed to help you just convert your shot list into a realistic shooting schedule, so you know how long your production is going to take, how many production days it's going to take, and how much time you have in each location and for each shot. This is going to save you the headache of cramming. This is going to save you the headache of overbooking or underbooking. This is going to make sure that you give yourself enough time to find the thing that you're looking for to make the movie that you're setting out to make. If you found this helpful, go ahead and give this video a like. Go ahead and share it with somebody else. Subscribe to both Garrett Salmon's, mine, YouTube channel and Light Panels as well. Follow the playlist along. We're going to be continuously uploading this throughout the year, updating it, so then that way there are more videos in this series. Also, link below, by the way, for making sure that you get your reminder and register for the free live stream here hosted on YouTube. So if you have questions about Lightly Ghosted, how we made it, what we did, anything like that, you can talk directly to me. I love doing these live Q&As. And as always, I'll see you in the next episode.